Hello, wonderful families. Today, we're discussing something you do every day, eating. But did you know there's a lot more to eating than just tasting delicious food? Let's talk about why it's so important to chew our food properly. You see, digestion, that's the process of our bodies breaking down food into nutrients, begins right in our mouths. Just think of your mouth as the starting line of a race. The race? To turn that food into fuel for your body. And how do we kickstart this race? By chewing. When you chew your food, you're breaking it down into smaller pieces. But that's not all. While you're chewing, your mouth produces a special liquid called saliva. This saliva is pretty amazing. It's like a superhero that starts the process of breaking down your food even before it reaches your stomach. So, the more you chew, the more saliva you make, and the better your food is prepared for the next stages of digestion. Now, what happens if we rush through our meals and don't chew our food thoroughly? Well, that's like trying to run a race without tying your shoelaces. You might stumble or even trip. In the same way, when you don't chew your food properly, it can lead to indigestion. That's a fancy word for when your stomach feels upset because it's having difficulty breaking down the food. Let's imagine you're eating an apple. If you take big bites and swallow quickly, your stomach will need to work extra hard to break down those large pieces. But if you take small bites and chew them well, your stomach will have a much easier time. It's like giving a helping hand to your stomach. So, the next time you sit down for a meal, remember to take your time. Enjoy the flavors, the textures, and the joy of eating. And most importantly, chew your food properly. Because remember, chewing is the first step in digestion. So take your time and enjoy your food. Now, let's talk about something very important. Staying safe by being aware of our surroundings. Awareness is a bit like having superpowers. It's about noticing what's happening around us, from the chirping of birds to the buzzing of cars on the road. When we're aware, we can spot things that could be potentially dangerous and avoid them, just like superheroes do. Imagine you're crossing a road. You need to be aware of the cars whizzing by, the traffic lights changing colors, and the people around you. If you're not paying attention, you might step out into the road when it's not safe. But if you're aware, you can wait for the green light, look both ways to make sure no cars are coming, and cross the road safely. It's like having a personal safety shield. Being aware is not just for crossing the road, though. Let's say you're playing in a park. You're having a great time climbing the jungle gym, sliding down slides and swinging on swings. But being aware can help you stay safe here too. You need to notice if the equipment is wet or broken, if there's anything unusual on the ground like sharp objects, and if there are people around who you don't know or who are acting strangely. Being aware can even help you protect your friends. If you see your friend about to run into a tree while playing tag, you can shout out a warning. Or if you notice a strange person hanging around the park, you can tell an adult. Remember, being aware doesn't mean being scared of everything. It's about being smart and prepared. It's like being a detective, always on the lookout for clues. You're not only protecting yourself, but also making the world a safer place for everyone else. Awareness is also about listening carefully. Your ears can pick up sounds that your eyes might miss, like the sound of a car's engine or a dog's bark. So while your eyes are like a superhero's laser vision, your ears are like a superhero's super hearing. And don't forget about your other senses. Your sense of touch can tell you if something is hot or cold, rough or smooth. Your sense of smell can alert you to things like smoke from a fire or the smell of spoiled food. Even your sense of taste can keep you safe by letting you know if something you're eating tastes funny or bad. So as you can see, being aware of your surroundings is a lot like being a superhero. You're using all your senses to spot potential dangers and keep yourself and others safe. Remember, it's not about being scared, it's about being smart. It's about paying attention to the world around you so you can enjoy your adventure safely. And that's the magic of awareness. It doesn't require any special tools or gadgets, just your own senses and a little bit of attention. So, always keep your eyes and ears open. Being aware keeps us safe. Have you ever wondered how countries around the world work together to protect the environment? Let's explore that. Imagine our planet as a big, beautiful garden. Now, if all the countries are gardeners of this garden, They need to work together to keep it green and blooming, right? That's where the Paris Agreement comes in. This is a special promise that countries made to each other to protect our garden, our planet. So what exactly is this promise, the Paris Agreement? Well, it's like a big team game where all countries come together and agree to help fight something called climate change. Now, you might be thinking, what's climate change? Well, think of it as a big, mean monster that's slowly heating up our planet. This monster is making our winters warmer, causing more intense storms, and even making sea levels rise. This monster, climate change, is mostly caused by something we call greenhouse gases. Imagine a thick, invisible blanket around the Earth trapping the sun's heat. That's what these gases do. And the main culprit, it's something called carbon dioxide, which is produced when we burn things like coal, oil, and gas. But don't worry, the Paris Agreement is like a superhero team ready to fight this climate change monster. The countries that have joined this team have promised to reduce the amount of greenhouse gases they produce. They also agreed to help each other in dealing with the effects of climate change, like helping countries that are affected by rising sea levels. To make it easier to understand, let's imagine our Earth as a big round cake. If we keep putting too much heat on the cake, it will burn, right? The Paris Agreement is like turning down the heat and finding other ways to cook our cake so it doesn't burn. Now, fighting this climate change monster is not an easy job. It needs a lot of teamwork, effort, and time. That's why the Paris Agreement also encourages countries to support each other, share ideas, and learn from each other's experiences. It's like a big global study group with everyone working together to protect our beautiful Earth garden. The Paris Agreement is really important because it's the first time that almost all the countries in the world have agreed to fight climate change together. It shows that when we work together, we can tackle big problems and protect our planet for future generations. So remember, just like how you and your friends might team up to clean up a messy playground, countries around the world are teaming up to clean up our Earth and protect it from the climate change monster. And that's what the Paris Agreement is, a promise to work together, to learn from each other, and to do our best to keep our planet, our home, safe and beautiful. Together, countries can make a big difference in protecting our planet. That's what the Paris Agreement is all about. Now let's look up at the sky. Why is it blue during the day? And why does it change colors during sunrise and sunset? To understand this, we first need to know a little about light. When we talk about light, we often think about it as a single thing. But did you know that light is actually made up of many different colors? That's right. Light is a mixture of all the colors of the rainbow. Now, imagine light as a group of tiny, tiny particles, all running around in different directions. These particles of light are called photons. When these photons travel from the sun to our eyes, they don't just come straight to us. They have to pass through the Earth's atmosphere, filled with molecules of air. As these photons encounter air molecules, they scatter or bounce around in all directions. This process is called scattering, but not all colors scatter in the same way. Some colors, like blue and violet, scatter more than others because they have shorter wavelengths. A wavelength is like the size of the step each color takes when it walks. So, in the middle of the day, when the sun is high in the sky, it's the blue light that gets scattered the most, making the sky appear blue to us. But wait, you might say, why don't we see a violet sky since violet light scatters even more than blue? That's a great question. Even though violet light scatters more, our eyes are not as sensitive to violet light as they are to blue light. Also, sunlight reaches us with less violet to begin with. So the sky appears mostly blue, not violet. Now what about those stunning colors at sunrise and sunset? Well, during these times, the sun is lower in the sky, and the light has to pass through more of the Earth's atmosphere. This means the light has more air molecules to scatter off of, and it scatters even more. Because the light travels a longer path, most of the blue and violet light gets scattered out of our line of sight, and the longer wavelengths of light, like red, orange, and yellow, get their turn to scatter. This results in the beautiful warm hues we see during sunrise and sunset. Sometimes, when the conditions are just right, you might see a red sky at sunrise or sunset. This happens when there are lots of particles like dust or water droplets in the atmosphere. These particles scatter the shorter blue and green wavelengths, allowing the longer red wavelengths to reach our eyes. So, you see, the changing colors of the sky aren't just a beautiful spectacle. They tell a story of light's journey through our atmosphere, of scattering and wavelengths, and of our eyes' perception of color. But remember, this is a very simplified explanation. The actual process involves much more complex physics. Scientists are still exploring and learning more about our incredible universe and the many wonders it holds. So the next time you see a beautiful sunset or a clear blue sky, you'll know why it looks that way. Finally, let's talk about machines. Why do we have machines that help us, like washing machines and elevators? Well, have you ever thought about how much time it would take to wash your clothes by hand? Or how much effort it would take to climb up to the 10th floor of a building without an elevator? Quite a lot, isn't it? This is where machines come in. They help us do tasks that would either take us a long time or require a lot of effort. Let's take washing machines, for example. Imagine having a huge pile of dirty clothes to clean. If you were to wash them by hand, it could take you hours, and by the end, you'd be so tired. But with a washing machine, all you have to do is load the clothes, add some detergent, and press a few buttons. The machine does all the hard work for you, and you get clean clothes without getting your hands dirty or feeling tired. Elevators are another great example of machines that make our lives easier. Without them, going up several floors, especially if you live or work in a high-rise building, would be a big challenge. But thanks to elevators, all you have to do is step in, press the button for your floor, and voila! You're there in no time without breaking a sweat. Machines don't just save us time and effort, they also help us do things we couldn't do on our own. Take cranes, for instance. They can lift heavy objects that humans can't, making it possible to build tall buildings and bridges. Or think about the machines used in hospitals, like MRI scanners. They help doctors see inside our bodies and diagnose illnesses that would otherwise be hard to detect. Machines also make our lives more comfortable. Air conditioners keep us cool on hot days, while heaters keep us warm when it's cold. Refrigerators keep our food fresh, and stoves allow us to cook delicious meals. In fact, machines are so important that they've become a part of our everyday lives. We use them to travel, to communicate, to learn, to work, and even to have fun. Cars, phones, computers, and video game consoles are all machines that we use regularly. But remember, while machines are incredibly helpful, they also need to be used responsibly. We should always be mindful of safety when using machines, and we should also think about the environmental impact of the machines we use. So in a nutshell, we have machines to make our lives easier, to help us do things we couldn't do on our own, and to add comfort to our lives. Whether it's washing clothes, going up a building, lifting heavy objects, diagnosing illnesses, keeping us comfortable, or helping us learn and have fun, machines are there to assist us in countless ways. Machines are here to make our lives easier. So the next time you use an elevator or a washing machine, remember how lucky we are to have them.